I'm Dani, that witch next door, and you're listening to That Witch Podcast. Hello, 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 my wonderful neighbor. Welcome to any new listeners today. I'm so happy to have you again. To any regular listeners today, welcome to That Witch Podcast. I'm Dani, and I've been thinking a lot, and I'm going to share some of these thoughts with you on this fine Tuesday. Episode 122, by the way, which is insane. Putting out episodes in the hundreds now is getting to me, not in a bad way, but it's getting to me. It's triggering a lot of reflecting on the past, thinking about the future, and of course, I'm sure some worries about right now, because it wouldn't be me without my good old pal anxiety standing right by my side. I've been thinking a lot about what I do. This is something that I revisit frequently. I revisit this when really every couple of months when I'm making sure that content is going to plan. I'm doing a little bit more mapping for the future. And this is something that I don't think beginner entrepreneurs do enough. It is definitely something I did not do enough when I first started out. It takes a while to learn the importance of reflecting on what it is that you actually do. Because it's just as easy to get stuck in a rut doing the same thing day in and day out as it is to totally go off of the rails. It's a lot easier than you would think. I think that a lot of people, myself included, I was so concerned about avoiding the monotony, the day in and day out kind of thing, the daily grind, that it took me a long time to realize the value in having your own checks and balances, making sure that you're giving yourself time to reflect on what it is you do, what it is you want to be doing, and are those things congruent with one another. This can definitely look like revisiting your mission statement, and maybe you don't have a mission statement, but I've been thinking a lot about what it is that I do. And I know this. This is why it's so valuable to come back to this every single time, and why new entrepreneurs and business owners would do really, really well to anchor into what it is that they do, what it is that they offer. Because for me, when I tap into this, it just always grounds and centers me, always solidifies me, and it always opens me up for creativity. I help people in general. We'll get to that in a second. I help people learn how to use witchcraft and astrology to support themselves in all aspects of their lives. I stress the term people because age, background, race, gender, income level, abilities, all are welcome. I have 2 prerequisites here in the neighborhood. If we're able to work together, if the work that I put out is going to be able to help you. And these are the only 2 things to qualify. Do you want to use astrology and witchcraft for support throughout your life? Do you actually want to do that? Having the desire is very important. And 2, do you believe that they can? Do you actually, truly believe that it's possible for astrology and witchcraft to support you throughout your life? If the answer is no to one or both of those, I'm not your gal, and that's okay. But it really, really helps me to hone in on this. And, when I think about, for me personally, this might look different depending on what you do. Okay. Now shifting the focus a little bit onto that witch specifically. This might look a little bit differently for you, but for me, because this is what I do, I help people of all kinds learn how to use witchcraft and astrology to support them in all aspects of their lives. This means that I mentor and I work with people, I teach them in so many different ways. Sessions with me are so different person to person. What I offer, what I work on, especially my long-term clients that I've been working with for a while now, half a year to a year or even more if we've been working together. It's so different what I work on with each of you. And keep in mind, I have a Gemini Mars. I love this aspect of my job. I love this aspect of my work. It's really, really good for me and stimulates all my curiosity, to have so much variety in what I do. But when you reflect like this, when you think about what it is that you do, and you think back on when you started out, what you've been doing, how it's going now, where you want to go, things come up. And what's been coming up for me is I think that I don't even think I'm going to just this is going to be this is going to be such a vulnerable episode. I'm not even sharing anything super deep and personal, so don't get excited. But I am going to share with you what the perfectionist in me that I'm trying to heal would call mistakes that I've made. And that, my friends, is a very, very, very difficult thing for me to share. I don't mind talking about overcoming like struggle. I can even be honest about my own behavior, but straight up stepping up to the plate and like admitting where my judgment was incorrect is really fucking hard for me. And I would be I'd be pretty likely to believe a lot of you listening struggle with this just like I do. It's hard. It's hard. Our pride, our ego, it's rough. I'm a fucking Scorpio. It's hard for me to admit. And I've got that Leo rising. And again, a Gemini Mars. Look at all that know-it-all I have all over my chart. It's really hard for me. Well, this most recent time that I've been reflecting on what it is that I do, I get to this point where I'm like, I'm not a business coach. There's a reason I've never called myself that. I've never, ever said I'm a business coach. There was a short, brief period of time I went by spiritual coach, spiritual mentor, and spiritual coach. Once in a while, you'll hear me say. In a lot of ways, it's because I don't feel like I've ever found the title that actually really encompasses everything that I do. And that's honestly because I don't think that it exists, but we're developing it. But I've done a lot of business coaching, and I do educate a lot in business. And when I reflect back on especially the beginning of that witch podcast, you got to keep in mind that witch next door is older than that witch podcast, but many, many, many people who are now a part of the neighborhood very first joined us at the start of the podcast. And that's kind of the witch next door that And when I very first started out, I'm just going to get very real here. So when we very first started out, I had just left my former company that I was a part of co-founding. And I don't at all believe in airing actual dirty laundry. So you won't find any of that here. Sorry to disappoint. But I will be honest with you when I say I had left my former company, and there is no less way of saying it than it was a death in my life. And as somebody who's experienced a lot of physical death in my life from very, very young years, I promise you, this was a full-blown death and grieving period in my life. It was very, very, very difficult. It was something I needed to do, something I'm proud of doing. And it was also really difficult. And when I left, I had just really embarked on investing in myself for the very first time. Up until that point, I had educated myself in business and I would seek out information, but I did this on my own. I didn't even really do this with my business partners, and a lot of that is because we were really young and we didn't know. We were on different pages. We were getting to know who we were ourselves as individuals. So even if you asked us what it is that we wanted for the future, there's no way in hell we could have truly accurately answered at that time. And I took it really seriously. This move, this death in my life, I took it so seriously. And I'm forever grateful for that. And I made sure, like, I'm going to invest in myself and I'm going to invest in my education for my business. And I did this, and it was really exciting. When you very first, like, go all in to your business, baby, it's really fucking exciting. You get bursts of that. You get peaks of that throughout the rest of your entrepreneurship. It's not like that just never happens ever again. But there is something about the very first time you really, truly decide to go all in. And it happens different for everybody. A lot of people have an experience like I do, where there was this big event that happened that is, again, another death in their life, where they really chose to close a chapter and open another due to some large event. And opening that next chapter looked like going all in to your business. There's nothing quite like that experience. And I loved it. And again, with that Gemini Mars of mine, all I could do was talk about business. Man, you get me excited about something. There's that ADHD. You get me excited about something, and I just want to talk about it and teach everybody about it, especially if it's something that's helped me. If it's helped me, I want to turn it around and use it to help other people. I've always been that way. I want to share it with the fucking world, and I want everyone to glow up and grow up and level up with me. And when I started that witch podcast, not long after going all into my business, not long after really, truly investing in myself for the first time, I did a lot of super, super, super business heavy content. And I love that content. I love talking about that stuff. It's a huge part of my life because I'm an entrepreneur. But the truth is like, over time, the further I also explore our neighborhood here, you got to understand that, like, I'm holding this space, but I'm exploring it myself too. Never done this before, you know. I'm officially at the point in my business. If you're in my inner circles, I've shared this with several people in the last few weeks. So you may be one of the people that have heard me say this, but I'm at the point in my business where I'm as far as I've ever gone before. I'm as far into my experience that I've ever been. And everything I do now, every single day, is brand new. Every single day is brand new. And now that I'm in this brand new, you know, reflecting, but also experimenting, while still cultivating consistency, by the way. It's very crafty dance we content creators and business owners do. with that, I've really looked back and I'm like, man, you know what? And this is where me admitting what the inner perfectionist is calling a mistake. I feel like for a really, really long time, even though I never used the title business coach, that I really marketed myself that way, kind of unintentionally. It was something I loved talking about and I liked helping people with, and I still do. This is something, and I'll elaborate on that in a second. There is a reason, though, that I don't call myself a business coach. There's a reason I don't say that I'm here to help you scale your business. I'm here to help you make more money. I'm here to help you grow your clientele. The truth is those things might happen when we work together. They might even be more likely to happen when we work together. But what I've learned is it's not because of my business coaching that I'm doing. And I don't think that back then I could have ever known that. I would have thought, the people I was helping and mentoring in business, if you would have asked me back then, I would have said, well, it's because I'm teaching them how to develop and grow their business. No, actually. When I go back and I reflect on the clients that I've worked with the longest, that I've helped the most, really, truly what I did was I helped them use astrology and witchcraft to support them in every aspect of their life. And they were entrepreneurs, which means I was also helping to use witchcraft and astrology in their business. It's really hard to put this into words, but it's been so revelatory for me in the last few days. It really, truly has helped me gain so much clarity on what my purpose is, who I'm here to serve, and who I can help the most. I do help entrepreneurs. That's the truth. I do, especially if you're a beginner, especially if you are brand spanking new, if you're just starting your business or you're wanting to, and you're having a really hard time transitioning into that entrepreneur mindset, really developing content, schedule, and planning, like all of those things, fuck yes. I love helping with all of that. I do it through my strengths and my skill set, though, which is my experience as a business owner, my knowledge of astrology and witchcraft and spirituality. So I still don't know my title. I will say that. Mentor still does feel the best. Because a mentor to me is very different than a coach. A coach is somebody who's with you every step of the way, as far as like giving you game plans, these step-by-step instructions. Okay, they're really coaching you every step of the way. A mentor, the way I at least distinguish this, is somebody who shares their experience with you. There's a very different and supportive nature to what I do that I am incredibly passionate about. That's why. It finally dawned on me. Why can I not let the business thing go? Why don't I just tell people I don't do any kind of business coaching and I only do this? And on the flip side, why don't I just go all in and say I'm a business coach? And this is where I finally had the clarity. Because that's not what I do. What I do is I'm here to help you feel supported, to help you feel seen, to help you feel validated on your journey. I'm somebody that you can share your experience with, and I'm going to be like, I get it. Man, do I get it. Here's some things that we can do. Let's look at life-work balance. Let's look at how we're actually crafting goals. Let's look at our mindset when we're actively trying to achieve those goals. I am somebody who started using witchcraft and astrology in my life and in my business, and it completely transformed my entire path for me. It's one of the greatest support systems in my life. I'm so passionate about my spiritual practice and how it's beneficial to my life. So I don't teach people, here's step by step how to do my spiritual practice. Again, that feels more like a coach to me. I ask really thought-provoking questions of my clients. I help them talk through and process blockages. I help them feel connected when they're starting to tap into a self-isolation cycle. I help people bring sacredness and magic and intuition and intention in their business and in their careers. So yes, your business might grow while we work together. And that's something we can set our sights on together. Those can be our intentions. Those can be our sacred goals when we're working together. And I am never going to be the person that says, I promise to get you more followers this year. I promise to add another 0 on the end of your income. And the reason is because that's not my focus. My focus is on your mindset and your magic and your spiritual practice. Is it actually supporting you in your life? For some people, they're neglecting their spiritual practice. And a lot of what I do is help teach you that a spiritual practice can be an easy, intentional, just part of your day, just an integrated part of your day. And it's something that we work on together over time so that spirituality and witchcraft and learning astrology don't feel like these added items on the to-do list. That's a big specialty of mine. I also specialize in shadow work though. I work with a lot of people in shadow work and in death work and in grief work. I utilize my information that I've gained in this life and my own spiritual gifts to help people, again, feel seen, supported, and valued throughout some of the most difficult times in life, so that whenever we're not working together again and you're on your own in the future, you know, because you've experienced it, you know you can get through those death chapters of your life, whether that's a physical or a figurative death. You know that you can get through those chapters in your life because you've done it before and you had somebody sharing their experience with you, letting you know that you're not alone, giving you concrete, tangible techniques, practices, and setting up accountability check-ins to really help you build daily habits and routines that truly integrate into your life as support systems. That's what I do. And it's something that I don't know. I've been wanting to record this episode. I've had this day on the calendar blank for so long. I had no idea what to record about for episode 122. I don't know why. These blockages happen to me as well, you know? This is why I have multiple mentors. This is why I have the support network that I do, that I also utilize. And I also reach into my tool bag that I was taught by former mentors of mine. That's me practicing what I preach, I guess, is what this episode is. I did want to give you some insight into this part of the process, I guess. these periods of rebirth in business or revelation in business usually take place behind the scenes. And a business is going along and we see them on social media. And then the next thing we know, they're announcing a rebrand or time off of social media, or they're letting go of a service, or they're adding a new product, whatever that is. And very, very rarely do we get the real, raw, uncut, behind the scenes, what was going on. And I think that it's really helpful to see that. It's helpful for me to see that. So I hope that it's helpful for you to see a successful business owner reflecting on their business practices and saying, I think that up until this point, or at the very least for a long time at the start of the show, I would say, I really showed up and offered myself in ways that weren't fully flushed out yet. My vision wasn't fully flushed out. And this is where I'm live in real time healing and nurturing my inner perfectionist. And I'm going to say, this wasn't a mistake that I made. I was meant to explore those topics, and I was meant to share my content, my message during that time period of my business for a reason. I know that those episodes have helped and still help a lot of people. Because again, I do help a lot of people in their business. And it's really important to me at this juncture in my business today to make really clear that I'm not a business coach. I'm not going to help you get more followers. I can't promise that you're going to get another 0 on the end of your income. But I do have a passion for astrology and witchcraft and how they can benefit you in your life in all aspects, your family, your relationships, your novelties and hobbies, how you spend your free time, and yes, your business and your career. And I think a big reason I wanted to share this is because I think a lot of people feel like they have to be a business owner to work with me. And that's why I needed to come on here and talk about this, that I help so many people in such a variety of ways. And I'm learning how to best share my message to reach all the right people. Long before I identified as a witch or practitioner of magic and energy work, this was also therefore long before I wore the title of business owner as well. There are years from stepping into adolescence up until identifying, really rediscovering magic in this life. Those years, those early years, well, almost the entire length of my 20s, really. They're so murky. They're really, really foggy for me. Part of that is because of my drinking and drug use habits. Part of it is my own neurodivergent brain. Part of it is my own trauma that impacts memory development as well. But the best I can describe this time period of my life is a wandering, a gray, wispy wandering. Wispy because it's like I was there but wasn't. It's like everything was there, but it wasn't. And I have a really hard time sometimes looking back and reflecting on that time of my life. It's probably the most mindless I've ever lived, were those years, almost all of my 20s. Before I rediscovered and embraced witchcraft and spirituality, I had some very deep religious and spiritual wounds. Some of them were connected to each other and others were separate. Some were just spiritual wounds. Some were just religious wounds. And yes, some of my spiritual wounds came from my religious wounds. It was hard for me because I've always believed in magic, even when I tried to be a denier of it. It's so crazy for me to think about that. I really spent a big chunk of my life really trying to be a naysayer, really trying to be cynical, trying to be as skeptical as possible. Healthy skepticism is something that I'm definitely a fan of and not what I'm referring to here. I'm talking about really abandoning my own authenticity and just trying to be as skeptical and trying to be as cynical as possible. And witchcraft and magic, it gave me permission again. It's probably more accurate to say I was able to give myself permission again, because the truth is I was the only one keeping myself from my beliefs. And I filled it up. When I rejected my beliefs, God, when I think about my 20s, when I rejected my beliefs, I had fucking gaping voids in my soul. Gaping. It's so fucking clear to me now why when I look at my chart, because of how big and important and significant spirituality is to me in this life. And I tried to fill these gaping voids with all kinds of shit, you know, about the alcohol and drugs, but anger too. Mindless, fucking relentless, and very, very pointless rage. And now, being someone who specializes in shadow work, when I look back, I'm like, God, it was the screams of 1,000 shadows being suffocated and shut up in the dark. That's what that anger was. That's what that rage was. That was not, I mean, in a way, it was sacred rage. It didn't come out that way, though. Let me just say that. I didn't put it to use that way, and I certainly didn't see it that way, so it didn't really have that effect, at least not for a while. I'm telling you this because when I embraced witchcraft, and that might mean something different to you. You might see witchcraft and magic as energy work, as working with nature or working with universal forces. You may see it as working with human unconscious or the unconscious collective. There's so many terms for it. For me, witch was liberating. Magic was freeing. I had believed in magic my whole life. I had revered witches my whole life. Oh my God. Some of my youngest memories I have is idolizing witches and spellcraft and magic. And oh my goodness, it was in my bones for a long time. So for me, that was liberating. This is why I try to use such a variety of terms, because you never know what term, what vibe, the way that it's said is gonna ignite and spark that for somebody. But when I rediscovered magic and witchcraft, I set myself free. I had been literally imprisoning myself, you guys, on the inside. I was a completely different person. The roots of me were there. You know, I had these things about me that I would refer to as like the quirky parts of my personality. They were the real parts of my personality. It's who I actually was. And those were my quirky little things I did in private, literally the rest of the time. Do you know how hard it is to realize this? For the rest of the time, I was whoever I needed to be at any given time. And because I had these quirky little things about myself, for a very, very, very long time, I was able to convince myself that I didn't have issues with authenticity. This is who I am. I certainly wasn't going to talk to you about it much further than that. I'll tell you that much. I was not interested in a, subterranean conversation about the whole thing. I was very, very, very superficial about the whole thing. I'm good to go. I'm checking all these boxes. I've got the job. I've got the relationship. I've got the friendships. I've got the family relationships. I do this on this day. I do that on that day. People around me also do that. It's reflected back at me. Everything is exactly, I don't even know what the right word is, because I don't even know that I had a word for it, but it was enough. All of that was enough to just keep me nose in the air, again, moving through every single day, total and utter mindlessness. Mindlessness. To embrace my inner witch meant embracing everything. And the further I went into this practice and the further I dove into my spirituality, and I let myself have beliefs again, and I let myself explore them again, I found safe people to talk about it with. And you know what? All of a sudden, the people in my life that didn't really truly value me or love me for who I was, one by fucking one, I can literally draw a timeline for you. They dropped out of my life. Some I cut out. I am a Scorpio. Some drifted away. Some totally dropped off. And the people who knew me, who saw me all along, which fucking blew my mind, by the way. I still get baffled to this day how I've maintained a couple of the deep, true relationships that I did during that time of my life. And I'm so fucking thankful and blessed. One of them was my marriage. And that I really did cultivate an honest, trustworthy, and vulnerable relationship with my husband. Bear in mind, it was as much work as it sounds like. That is not an easy thing to cultivate and be an active participant in. And anybody in a healthy, secure attachment relationship knows what I'm talking about. It ain't a fucking walk in the park. And it's so rewarding. And it's so, and it's the most beautiful mirror in your life. And there were a couple, not many, but there were a couple other relationships like that also survived my 20s. That to this day I can sit and look at and go, oh, the mirror went up, and what we reflect for each other in this relationship is growth. And both of us thrive, and both of us feel seen, and both of us feel valued. Most relationships did not stand the test of the mirror that spirituality put up, that awareness of your existence puts up. So easy when you're living mindlessly. The moment you have to actually start working with intention, I didn't really know. I'll be honest. I didn't really know when I started the episode why I needed to talk about this today. I sat with Mercury for a long time. I wish I could show you guys how long I prepared for this episode, and with the preparation was meaningless, by the way. You should see my notes. Didn't matter. I came on and really spoke from the heart, and I think I really needed to do that. And I didn't know at the beginning why. And now I think I'm understanding why. This is why I started That Witch Next Door. When I think about my experience, I'm kind of getting emotional. When I think about my experience, my life, and how I transitioned into spirituality and witchcraft, it's exactly why I started the neighborhood. Because I wanted to gift this magic out to the world. That's why those are my only 2 prerequisites, by the way. Do you actually want to use astrology and witchcraft in your life? And do you believe that it's possible they can help you? That's all you need around here, because that's what we're the most fucking passionate about. I wanted to create a space and services and offerings for people experiencing exactly this, in your own unique way. None of our stories look exactly the same, but they sure are awfully similar, aren't they? This is what I do. I'm so endlessly grateful that it helps. That people like you listen to the show and it helps. It's why I do what I do, and it's why I come on here and I do the damn Leo rising thing. And I speak wholly and fully from my heart. And I tell you what it is that I do. And I tell you what it is that I don't do. Because if there's one thing I value in this world, it's our time. And I respect the shit out of yours. I always want to be clear about what it is I help you with here. What you can come to me for. And I definitely want you to feel seen and heard and validated and supported all along the way. Because I've fucking been there. That's really it. No tips really today. No class today. I'm trying to practice what I preach. And one of my biggest goals for 2023 was to share more and more of my personal story, my personal beliefs, and my thoughts in my content, and not solely offer education. We got plenty of that. That's not going anywhere. It's one of my favorite things to do. But this is a really hard thing for me to do, and therefore a really important thing for me to do. And this is one of the ways that I practice courage, is I show up and I speak directly what's going on in my mind and my heart. And I hope that it reaches the right person, and that whoever needed to hear this today did, and feels valued and feels loved and feels supported and feels like they're not alone. Because I get it. So thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your time every single day you spend with me in the neighborhood, because it truly means the world to me. And I'll never, ever, ever be able to tell you that enough. I'm really excited for next week, because we are on to a new month. Beltane is here. Summer months are coming. And we're doing all kinds of fun things around here. And I'm just so damn excited and grateful that I get to do it with you. So thank you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, a beautiful rest of April, by the way. Enjoy your weekend. Make sure you stay safe, but also make sure you have fun and stay magical out there, my friend. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed that witch podcast today, I would be super, super grateful if you would take a moment to head over to Apple or Spotify and leave a rating and review. It really helps to support the show. Or if you just have a friend that you think would enjoy what we're doing, what we're talking about here, you can just share the show with them as well. Now, if you yourself like what you're doing here and you want to get more into the magic of the neighborhood, I highly recommend checking out my monthly membership, That Witch School. It's kind of like a witchier, more interactive style of Patreon subscription where you can enroll at a tier level that fits your lifestyle and budget. You can get instant access to all of the bonus content that we've already done, as well as all of the future amazing to come bonus content that we'll be doing in the future together. There's exercises for strengthening your intuition. There are loads of resources for studying astrology and learning your birth chart. We've got guest workshops, bonus episodes, exclusive discounts, and so much more. My full-time students also get exclusive access to Mighty Networks, our private online community platform, which is basically like a way better and way more magical social media platform with a bunch of really cool people like you that just want to learn from and support one another on this witchy spiritual journey. If this sounds like something that you would really enjoy, head over to thatwitchnextdoor.com/enroll and explore the tier level of that witch school that would fit you today. Now, if you have any questions after the episode today, any inquiries, show suggestions, anything you'd like to share with me, you can head over to thatwitchnextdoor.com/conjurethatwitch. Remember, I'm just always right next door. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next episode.